Malocclusion can be defined as a misalignment or incorrect contact between the maxillary and mandibular teeth. Let's look at the different types of malocclusion. Edward Engel, known as the father of orthodontics, devised a classification system for the different types of malocclusion. This system analyzes the differences in contacts between the maxillary and mandibular first permanent molars and canines, categorizing them into three classes: Class 1, Class 2, Division 1, Division 2, and Class 3. But before explaining this further, it's important to understand what normal occlusion actually is. According to Engel, normal occlusion is when the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first molar aligns with the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar, and when the maxillary canine occludes with the distal half of the mandibular canine and the mesial half of the first premolar. These points of contact follow and form part of what is known as the line of occlusion. In the maxilla, a normal line of occlusion runs smoothly through the central fossa of the posterior teeth and continues along the cingulums on the palatal surfaces of the anterior teeth. In the mandible, this line of occlusion runs smoothly through the buccal cusps of the posteriors and continues along the incisal edges of the anterior teeth. Now that we know what the desirable relationships between teeth are, we can now understand the abnormalities, malocclusion. As previously mentioned, Class 1 occlusion is the normal and ideal type of occlusion. However, there is still such thing as Class 1 malocclusion, known as neutrocclusion, which is the most common type. In neutrocclusion, the molar relationship is the same as in Class 1, that is, the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first molar aligns with the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. However, due to possible spacing, overcrowding, under-eruption or over-eruption of the anterior teeth, the canine relationship is disrupted and malocclusion occurs. Class 2 malocclusion, also known as distocclusion or overjet, is when the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first molar is located mesial to the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. As a result, the mesiobuccal cusp usually sits between the first mandibular molar and the second mandibular premolar. There are two possible divisions within Class 2 malocclusion which describe the positions of the anterior teeth. Division 1, which is when the maxillary anterior teeth are protruded and proclined, thus causing an excessive overjet and deep overbite, and Division 2, which is when the maxillary anterior teeth are retroclined, thus causing a deep overbite. Finally, Class 3 malocclusion, also referred to as mesiocclusion or negative overjet, is when the mesiobuccal cusp of the maxillary first molar is located distally to the buccal groove of the mandibular first molar. As a result, the canine relationship is also disrupted as the mesial surface of the maxillary canine occludes with the distal surface of the mandibular canine, thus causing the incisors to form a crossbite. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you learned something new about occlusion and malocclusion.